Welcome to Love You Longmont. We're so happy to be in Denver today, and we're with Gamma Gallery. You probably know Gamma from the work that you've seen, these fantastic murals, and we're going to find out about the murals and some of the interesting things you do. Now, I think a lot of people know you from your sports murals, and I think one of the most interesting one was a mural you created while an interview was going on in front of you. How did that come about?
Yeah, that was for NFL Films, and that was filmed in his hometown in Pittsburgh. It was a part of their series called A Football Life.
It seems to me you really respect sports figures. Did you ever play football? Is sports a part of your life?
No, not really, not at all.
Not at all.
The sports projects just end up being it's a part of the American culture. So
I wondered if sports figures are kind of our heroes.
I look at them kind of as the modern era's version of gladiators. Just as a comparison, I don't necessarily see them for me personally, but you know, they're there to entertain the masses. Modern sports is entertainment. It's a spectator sport.
Oh, I like that. The mural that you created with Curtis, you made the mural while they're interviewing him in front of the mural. Is that nerve-wracking at all to have a camera on you for the whole time you're working? Or?
I work well under pressure, so it's just a different. There's different frames of mind you can be in while painting, and some are more, you know, tranquil. When you're under the gun, you definitely get some more, I guess, primal art, because you're not really thinking, you're just doing.
I guess part of it is you love what you're doing. You love the creating murals.
Yeah, you get lost in it.
Yeah. Some of your murals have been about social issues. How do you feel like a mural could be something that would affect people on major issues?
I think probably 90% of my murals are current events or political or social. Very rarely do I just paint something just for the sake of it being pretty. Even some of the sports murals are kind of a backward political project, you know, to kind of show, like, the sports murals are there to show like what we focus on as a culture, and that's why those are so popular.
And maybe also what we ignore and don't see.
Exactly. And then some of my more like extremely political pieces, for the people that understand them, they consider those my best pieces, and they're the least popular because the majority of my fan base doesn't understand them or didn't even notice it because it didn't capture the eye immediately.
The hardest part, and I know that you call your work Gamma Gallery because wherever your murals are is where your gallery is. But those murals can go away. It's almost called sacrificial art. Does that bother you?
I don't really think about it. It's brought up often about a word people like to throw around to define it, like ephemeral, and
yeah,
it doesn't even come into play. It's a process. It's fun. You're sharing with the community. If it's gone, I mean, what really does last forever? I mean,
well, that's a good point.
Yeah, and it's just fun to be able to do it now and be a part of it while it's popular. And the people that do get to see these pieces in person in the future will be able to say, like, I actually saw those.
Yeah. As
opposed to like everything being guaranteed to last forever, you know.
You talked about community. Is is Colorado your community?
Yeah.
Do you think, how do you show that you care about your community?
By sharing my my quote unquote gift, my talent with the people in the communities that I paint. For the most part, the murals I paint are with the people in mind. Things that I would paint for myself, that I would hang in my own house, you would never see me paint on a wall, because it would be either a wasted opportunity or just, you know, a little bit narcissistic to paint like, well, here's what I like, and I'm going to force it upon you.
So people who see your murals are sometimes inspired to want to paint murals. Do you ever talk to young people who are trying to become mural painters?
Yeah, I meet people every day. Like I'm rarely in the same spot 2 days in a row. So I'm literally meeting new people every day. And a lot of the time, I'll run into people that say, you know, they're fans, or they've been following me, or they're artists, and you know, it's nice to see that what I've been doing is appreciated and has set an example for people to pursue the same expression.
People can't exactly go to school to become mural painters. What do you tell young people if they want to do what you do?
You just, I mean, it's you have to just do it, and it's kind of hard to say that, but like if somebody wants to paint a mural, what you kind of have to speak to them like as if you're giving directions. Like, well, what do you need to paint a mural? What would you need? What would be the first thing you need?
Paint.
Well,
a wall.
A wall. And I tell them, like, find a wall. You have to find a wall. I mean, no one's gonna find it for you. Find a building owner that's gonna, you know, let you.
Right. And
use that as your practice canvas. You know, it's not that hard. There are people out there that would love to let people express themselves and get some art on their building.
We're in front of a wonderful mural that you've done and you're still working on, and that's at So Point in Denver. They obviously love to have a wall, and I think it must change the space that you're in. I mean, this is alive, this is exciting, and it was a blank wall. So there are opportunities like that, that if people just knew they could get a mural, they might say, please paint my wall.
Yeah. It's it definitely changes the atmosphere of whichever setting you're in, be it private or public.
Yeah. Well, you know, Longmont loves you. People say that all the time. Now, are you from Longmont originally?
I was born in Denver, and I, for the most part, grew up in Longmont.
Is Longmont a good place for you to create your art?
It was. I mean, I moved to Denver, so my focus has been in Denver for the last almost 4 years. And that was an inevitable progress, but
you had to get to the bigger space.
Yeah. But no, I like painting in Longmont. I wouldn't have been here without the support I got from the community.
That's really neat. Well, you did a mural in Longmont, a historic mural. Now, they provided the walls for you, but how did you choose what went on the walls?
I tried to do the diligence as far as the more important events and milestones that happened in Longmont, or, you know, important figures in Longmont's history. And that's actually still not finished.
Oh, really?
Well, it's a finished product. It's not the finished product. There's some pieces that I'm unhappy with, and then the weather has affected it. So I still have to go and restore it. And there's a couple pieces that I want to completely redo.
Do you, are you listening to music while you paint? Is that part of your process?
Yeah, when I need to, because sometimes you just have to drown out the background noise. There's a wall I'm working on right now that is insane with distraction. It's you know, it's in a parking lot with massive amounts of cars in and out of the parking lot with passers-by, and then there's traffic and ambulances, and so for that project I definitely need music.
Do people come up and say, Gama, hey Gama, what are you doing?
All the time.
They do.
Yeah.
They want to know. They want to be a part of what you're doing because it's exciting.
Yeah, and sometimes I even have like earplugs in,
Really?
and the music is there just to drown out the background noise. So I'm not even listening to it sometimes.
You have done a mural that you've started in Berthoud, and you're working on that also, right? Right. So the first mural was the City Star Brewing. It was a vintage poker game, is what I understand?
Yeah, like an old West poker game.
Fun.
Yeah, 1800s era, late 1800s.
So you completed that one already, but you're starting another one?
No, I'm still working on that one.
Oh, that's good.
That one's maybe halfway done.
And it's done for a brewery.
Correct.
I would think breweries might, since they have great big spaces and lots of times warehouses, it might be a good opportunity to have those walls you talked about.
Yeah, I've worked, they'd be the third brewery I've worked with.
Mm-hmm. And do they, when you go to somebody like that, do they tell you what they want?
It's usually somewhat of a collaboration. I'll come up with a few concepts and they pick the one they like the most.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but for the most part, I'm only painting what I want because the product comes out better that way.
Well, it is your vision. You know, one of the things that surprised me, Mike suggested that I imagined that you did a drawing on a computer and then you enlarged it and that you sectioned things off and worked that way.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do these incredible big things that are symmetrical without a plan? I don't know, I can't imagine it.
It's just practice. I mean, it's really not difficult. Like one thing I'm known for is my view against using tricks and tools for painting murals, and like I can talk about that for hours.
Well, you can talk about it a little. Tell us, why would you be opposed to that?
Because so street art became very popular over the last 10 years, but even more so the last few years. And one of the problems is that a few artists started cheating, you know, and they would project their images on the wall to either make it easier or save time. And this goes against the whole, you know, free form of the graffiti and street art culture. Like you're supposed to be able to do this without any tricks. It's all about, you know, your creativity. And so using these tools just has no substance, because you're just you're reproducing something in a smaller form. You're producing a product, not a piece of art. And it's not like it's a sculpture or you're carving into something. It's a flat surface. If you can paint, if you can draw on a piece of paper, you should be able to draw on a wall. And if you're not trying, you're not challenging yourself, so you're fooling yourself and you're lying to you know, the community whose art you're forcing upon them. You know, when you put a huge mural in somebody's neighborhood, it's like a billboard. So if you're doing this product, you're not necessarily giving an authentic vision to the people who you're sharing it with.
So when we see a mural, it's really Gama. It's really comes from inside you.
Sure.
That was nice of you to agree with me. I appreciate that. It's certainly challenging, though, because when you're working on a mural, you can't see all the parts of it as you're doing it because you're so close.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it just takes practice. I mean, you have to take chances. It's, people used to be able to find their way by looking at the stars, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, is what I
yeah.
compare it to. Like, if you can, if you let your mind work things out, as opposed to like letting these doubts creep in, people can do a lot. And like I said, it's a flat surface. It's like the most easiest thing to create on. You know, you're not designing a car where you have to keep the internal
Well, that's true.
things in mind, and the overall shape, and the fact that it has moving parts and everything. It's a flat surface. It's not going anywhere, you know.
You have a couple murals that you're working on now. At 31st and Larimer, you've done here in Denver, you've done something called Skin Condition. What's that about?
That's so that piece was that building was offered to me for a block party, which is in 5 Points, Denver, in the Rhino Art District, and I was afforded the opportunity to do something a little culturally significant, and I feel right now what's going on in that area is very there's a lot of controversy about the gentrification in that area. So,
Right.
I just posted that piece. It was a realism on a corner, so it has like a 3D effect to it, and it's political, so it's like 3 of my favorite things.
3 of your favorite things. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. You've also done something at 36th and Downing on the Day of the Dead, Dia de la Muerte. And that's a homage to a heritage, right?
Yeah, that's there's a lot of people that can relate to that in that neighborhood,
Yeah.
and that neighborhood is changing also. That's like on the edge of the Rhino Art District,
Right.
and I felt important to put something that means something, as opposed to just something pretty to get to be part of the cool neighborhood. And luckily the tenants at the time gave me full autonomy to paint that piece, and it was a piece that I had in my mind for a couple years, but I was saving it, never told anybody about it, and it ended up being that piece has gone viral a few times worldwide.
How wonderful. Well, that's a great feeling when people acknowledge all around the world what you do.
Yeah.
You have done another one called Foundation, and it's a hand grabbing a building. What's that about?
So a friend of mine got permission through his company to let a bunch of artists paint and
Wow.
do whatever they wanted with this building that's going to get torn down.
Ah.
So it was a rare opportunity to be able to actually alter the building as opposed to just paint on the surface. So I actually carved out of the cinder block a hand
Oh my God.
gripping the corner of the building, and the hands coming up from
Oh, how
below.
wonderful.
So that's what it's called, Foundation, as to say that sometimes people as a whole can get crushed by the things that they helped build, or that they have to, tear down the things that are being built upon them.
So now you're a sculptor.
I did granite
No.
for about four years, and when I did that, it was you're carving granite, the hardest
You are.
hardest rock out there. So
I went to a show at the Firehouse Art Center in Longmont, and one of your images there that I saw, although I didn't see the image, was of the geisha. Now that's part of something in Boulder, is that right?
Yeah, that might be my longest running mural right now. I tried to get that wall for a couple years, and finally they let me have it, and it's been running, I want to say 7, maybe 8 years. Hard to say, but yeah, that one was other than the face in that one I had, which I had reference for. I had a model and we did a photo shoot for that. But other than her face, the rest of the mural is 100% freehand.
Oh,
Like there was no reference for it or anything.
Oh my goodness. Well, it is beautiful.
Thank you.
There are a couple new ones that I wanted to talk briefly about. There's one called Reverse Art War Paint. What is that? That's almost transparent, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a collaboration. So it's at this bar called Cold Crush in Denver, which is in Rhino or 5 Points, and there's a lot of controversy about that place. But they have this mural wall outside that they alternate, and the artists that they choose collaborate with one of the owners, Musa. And so that was my second time painting it, and I collaborated with this artist, Chris Haven, who's a very popular Denver street artist and graffiti artist. And that mural depicted Red Fawn, who's a political prisoner right now because of the Dakota Access Pipeline. And the reason we called it reverse war paint is that was a protest of peace. So as opposed to like putting on war paint, she's removing, you know, the facade and showing like her true, her skin.
Wow.
To show like that this is a war, but we're fighting it peacefully.
I think you feel often that there's a war going on, is that right?
Yeah, there always is. That's nature, you know.
Is it a war of culture? Is it a war of the world or the United States?
That's a big one. There's conflict. I mean, that's life, you know.
Yeah.
Everything has to like absorb and give back one way or another. It's a process, you know.
And you have a big voice.
I try to be responsible with it. Yeah, most of that's one of the things. It sounds very pretentious to say, but when you have an opportunity and a platform, like you don't have to. I don't tell artists that they have to, but you, at the very least, be aware of what you're saying. You know, and sometimes for some people, they're scared to express themselves with even the things that they wholeheartedly believe in, because they're afraid of alienating or scaring off, you know, supporters or potential, you know, clients. But no, you have to be aware of these things. I mean, there's throughout history, there's people that were born in a struggle and died when that same struggle was still going on. You know, like they lived through a whole era, and nothing changed as far as like that one thing. You know, especially in this country. You know, what this country was founded upon. You know, the land stolen from the indigenous and slavery. People were born into it and never saw anything get better and died, and that was it, and that was that was their world. So nowadays, you know, especially with the internet, we can communicate with people all over the world, and it's important to try to get as much done as we can, because this is a very, very unique opportunity. So that's why I like to bring up a lot of current events, you know, things that
Yeah.
are going on. There's a list of murals I've done, and people wouldn't even know that they had a, you know, other meaning.
Well, your immigrant mural, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, that one was in your face, but I think it was important, and I had that one in my mind for a while, but due to like the new commander-in-chief and his policies, it's really at the forefront right now. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on, and it's hard to ignore. I've been called by some artists an opportunist.
I don't see that. But
We're all opportunists, you know what I mean? You're not gonna go. You're not gonna go to the mechanic when you're hungry. You know,
right.
You go where you need to go to get
Right.
what you need or want done.
Right.
You know? So in that sense, what I need or want is to be able to like help people like see that it's okay to get a little risky with your art, and for the kids to be able to see that you can express these ideas.
Right.
You don't have to like only go to protests or only talk about it with your close friends if your family or you know, your community doesn't agree with what you're into.
And in some ways, seeing a mural with a certain point of view might make people a little braver.
Yeah, I've had very, very deep conversations with total strangers when I'm painting certain murals. You know, people will walk up all the time, but I've made friends, you know, really good friends that if I wasn't out there painting, I never would have met them. You know, they would just happen to be walking by, and either they get it right away when they see what I'm painting, or they ask, and you know, I engage the conversation, and you know, I've made connections with people that never would have happened any other way.
Well, and you really exposed your feelings. And most people, as you say, never are brave enough to do that. So you're out there in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's I could work on these things, you know, inside a studio and post it on the internet, but it's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same when it's out in public and you're painting it. And it is unusual because I don't paint on canvas. I don't sketch anymore. Like I used to draw every day. I don't do that anymore. Everything that I create, everybody can see.
Yeah.
Like unless it's a concept sketch for a mural project, it's still something you're gonna see. Like so.
That's wonderful.
All my ideas, even like my mistakes or my you know, poorly thought out concepts are still out there in public, and I've heard that's kind of rare.
It is rare.
You know, I have a friend who's a poet, and he said he could never do what I do, like to completely expose all his ideas constantly, back to back.
Well, it's very exciting. Well, we're very, very glad that you do what you do and that you create this wonderful art. And we're looking forward to seeing you in Longmont again.
Yeah, I have some big projects lined up. One big, huge project in particular, and we're going to need the community's help.
Oh, I think you'll have it. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. I love you, Longmont, and we'll look forward to seeing Gama in Longmont. Thank you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
That was a wonderful interview.